I want you to think for a moment about the friends in your life. How did you meet them? I could probably guess, and that's because we all generally meet our friends the same way. It's work, or it's school. We meet most of the people in our lives circumstantially. We form bonds based on convenience. We become friends because we were both there. The right place, the right time, for enough time. But time marches on, and eventually we graduate, or we quit that job, or we move. And more often than not, those friendships get left behind too. The hard thing that we've all had to accept at some point is that most friendships live in a place. And when we leave, we don't carry those friendships with us. But wait a minute, you might be saying. I can think of a bunch of other friends who I didn't meet that way. And maybe you met those friends through a shared hobby. Maybe that hobby was video games. Games like Monster Hunter, Destiny, FF14, and Fortnite have strengthened more friendships for me than any school year or job. But if those friends that we make at school or work fade away when those experiences are over, then what about friends that we make online? Where do those go? We've all been there. One day you're playing games online with your friends, just like most other days. It's getting pretty late, so you decide to head to bed. See you later, man, you say. Gonna be on tomorrow? You ask. Yeah, for sure. See you then, they say. Then, the next day comes and last seen online, one day. And that one day becomes 2, then a week. And the next thing you know, it's last seen online 10 years ago. What happened? What happened to see you then? Sometimes we do know what happened. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV lately, and it's been complicated. On one hand, the game itself is as fun as it's ever been, and it remains one of my all-time favorites, but on the other hand, the game is, for me, littered with ghosts. There are people who I used to play FF14 with every day, who I've completely lost contact with. Now, some of them I lost contact with on purpose, and for the ones where it wasn't on purpose, it was a slow, unintentional process of just keeping in touch less and less. But for a few, it really was that simple. They were there one day, gone the next. Now, for something like Fortnite, it's different. I've played Fortnite on and off since basically day one, and I've had countless fun memories with friends playing it, but that game is updated so frequently that if you put it down for 3 months, it suddenly Ship of Theseus itself into something completely new. Now, a lot of people would say that that's the appeal of Fortnite. I would even say that, but it also means that it doesn't remember you. Fortnite doesn't retain memories. There's no place I can go to in Fortnite that's going to give me the nostalgic pang that I get from just looking at old videos that I've recorded or old songs that aren't in the game anymore. But to return to FF14, some of the older zones can be very difficult for me to walk through or hang out in, because they've become a gallery of friendships and good times long since past. Most of those memories are good, I should say, but when the person those memories aren't attached to isn't around anymore, what use are those memories? What do you do with them? I think nostalgia is one of the most powerful emotions we can feel, and it's one that I frequently try to evoke with my videos, but that's the warm and fuzzy kind of nostalgia. It's the kind of memories where just recalling them makes you feel like a kid again. It makes you happy to have made those memories at all. But I also find myself getting caught in another kind of nostalgia, one that doesn't feel as useful. It feels like nostalgia that leads to a dead end. Remembering doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy, it makes me feel incomplete. It fills me with the desire for the long gone, to be the here and now. Maybe nostalgia isn't the right word for that feeling at all. Maybe it's grief. Can grief be useful? This is what I keep asking myself as I continue to plug away at FF14. I feel that nostalgic heaviness weighing down on me as I play, and I think, what do I do with this? Every time I encountered one of those ghosts, I would think about what I would say to them if we were still in contact, if they were still here. I don't feel happy to have made those memories because it feels like those memories weren't done yet. We think that a ghost is what happens when someone isn't here anymore, but really, it's what happens when we feel like they still are. The truth is that online friendships are hard. Sure, they can weather the storm of any move, career change, or major life shift because they aren't tied to any one tangible location, but what happens when a friendship isn't tied to a place? What if it's tied to just logging on? In some ways, you're forced to go to school, you're forced to go to work, you're forced into these inevitable connections that arise from just doing what you do every day. If your friend stops coming to school or work, it's going to be immediately noticeable and it's going to have some kind of consequence for them. But if your friend just stops logging on, your life is going to continue on just fine. And what's worse, you won't even notice it at first. Playing FF14 again made me realize just how many of them I hadn't noticed slipped away. In some cases, actual years had gone by, just slowly disappearing. I thought it had been less time. This put me in a full-blown panic mode, and all I could think was, look at all these people I've lost. So I went around contacting them, and much to my relief, I did hear back from some of them, and it was like nothing had changed. We picked right back up where we left off. But some of them haven't gotten back to me, or they haven't even logged back on in a pretty staggeringly huge amount of time. Some of them, I'll simply never hear back from again. The ones where we simply played together less and less over time don't hurt quite as bad. Friendships run their course, and we grew apart is as easy a reason to cling to as any. Admittedly, this can still cause its own kind of sadness, but it's easier to accept because it's a reason. And oftentimes, reason gives us closure for why a thing is over. But it's the ones that really were that simple. They logged on one day, and then didn't the next, and then never again. Those are the ones that leave behind these unfinished memories that leave us wondering, why? Had they been planning on exiting the friendship for a while and were simply waiting for a good enough day to come around so they could say, that's a good place to end it, and move on? Or maybe they really were planning on logging on the next day, or the next, and then they just never got around to it. I'll never know. And now, after having done too much waiting for too many long since vanished friends to come back, I realize it's easier to say I will never hear from them again. It's better than maybe I will, because you can't mourn the loss of something you aren't even sure you've lost. What I've learned is that you can give yourself closure, even if it feels like our lost friends took that closure with them. And I think that's why I made this video, to accept the passage of time, and along with it, the passing of friends. I have an urge to keep things. I want to keep everything. I want to keep moments in time, and I want to keep the people that are in those moments. But the truth is that we can't keep everything. Of course we can't. But we can keep those moments even as we let go of the people that were in them. I made this video to try to give myself back all the little pieces of happiness that slipped away with each passing friendship. And I hope that you can give yourself back some pieces too.